So in a world with so many choices for Bluetooth headphones, it can be a little bit intimidating to find your perfect pair. Even harder is when you have so many YouTubers who are providing reviews based more on their bottom line and not so much the actual product. My name is Casanova Nova, and today I'm going to help you figure out why I believe this to be the best Bluetooth headphone on the market right now at its current price point. So let's get things started. The Creative Air SXFI C headphones, did I say that right? These headphones were created by a company that has a lot of experience with basically creating sound processors. If the name Creative isn't too familiar to you, maybe Sound Blaster might ring your memory. In fact, Creative is also the company behind the Zen MP3 player, which was one of the first MP3 players on the market in terms of a portable music player, PMP device. And I remember from the time I was a child, they always had fantastic sound quality. The CEO of Creative said in an interview online that he waited almost 10 years for this product to basically come around. Reason being is because they didn't have the technology to make it happen beforehand. Now, the Air C has a few interesting features, but let's walk through the headphone really quickly. The first things you're going to notice is that you have a tiny little mic on the side which can be removed. So, my hands are sweaty, so we're going to skip that one. You also have a little USB Type-C slot, which allows you to run this in wired mode on computer, on PlayStation. Xbox I don't think is supported, although you can use the 3.5mm audio jack, which is a TRRS connection, not just TRS. So you actually can use these, which I've tested, as a headset for your Xbox. So you can play online and use them as your gaming headset. And the microphone will pick the audio up, and in wired mode, it'll output it right to the audio in the audio chip in the controller. Another cool thing about these headphones would be that they have an SD card slot right here. So you can put an SD card preloaded with all of your music directly into the headphones and take them on the go without needing your phone. So if, let's say, you're running to the deli and you forget your phone at home, instead of running all the way back upstairs because you want to hear your music, pop it into SD card mode and you're off. Another good thing about that is that you can put your FLAC files, you can put your high-end audio files on this card, which frees up space on your phone. Very big move. A third reason this is important too is because there is one drawback. In very, very crowded areas or places where there are a lot of wireless signals, I noticed that reception tends to fall right off. And you can have dropouts even with the phone directly next to your ear. But this is easily remedied by just walking with the same wire that I told you about and your iPhone adapter and running it wired for the moments that you might actually be completely surrounded by phones all competing for wireless signals. And don't think that I'm saying that the train is a place that happens. It holds up very well in 99% of places. But I do notice there are some reliable spots in my neighborhood where there must be so many wireless devices inside of the building that they will drop, as well as if I'm in the city and I find that I'm on a day when everyone is out and about, I could have some reception problems here or there. But like I said, running them wired usually remedies all of those problems, and even though Creative has not really specified it working, I have confirmed myself, when you run it in wired mode, you will be able to use the SXFI Air C mode. Now, how does it all exactly work? Well, the first thing you do is you get out your phone, and you take a picture of your left ear, your right ear, and then your face. They then take that information and process it in whatever magic wizardry that they've come up with, and then the audio is fed to your ears based on that mathematical input. So then once your profile is created in the app, they download that to the headphones and you're off. From that point on, you should be getting your audio more or less in a mode that's supposedly holographic. And we're going to dive into that because honestly, it's not as much holographic, but it is cool. Now, don't expect that this mode is going to suddenly make your Taylor Swift song sound like, you've got speakers over your head and all sorts of craziness. No. What it actually is a sound processor that recreates the audio of a high-end stereo. So when you think about that, you're sitting at home listening to a stereo, and the audio from your left speaker will still reach your right ear. The audio from the right will still reach to the left. And however it was mixed will determine the sound stage. For instance, if the vocals will be dead center, if they move to the left, they move to the right. But when you wear headphones, you're cutting off that important left-right audio mix. So when you listen to headphones the next time, I want you to basically pay attention to the sound in your head effect. It's even more pronounced if you have earbuds, because quite literally, you'll hear the audio directly inside of your head, like if the stage is inside of here. And sound staging is the idea of hearing music and sounds around you. Compared to these headphones, it makes going back to other headphones almost impossible. Because the moment you kick that mode on and you can hear how the audio instantly comes now in front of you the way you feel like it should be, according to, stereos and all the audio you've heard in your life, it's interesting because everything opens up. And yes, you truly do get a bigger sound stage, but weirdly enough, it's, like I said, it's not really holographic or surround as much as it just sounds like a really high-end set of speakers. And that's the beautiful part. It really makes movies, games, and a lot of other genres of music than pop come alive. You have a lot of fun listening to it, but there are some caveats. First off, it is a bit colored. You will actually get a little fatigued with certain songs where the vocals might be a little too harsh in the mids, because it does tend to limp a little bit over to boosting the mids. And while there is some bass boosting going on in terms of the low end of the frequencies, you're actually still having some sort of compression being applied in Bluetooth mode. Weirdly enough, doesn't seem to happen when I'm on the computer or when I'm running it through the 3.5mm jack, but in Bluetooth there is some sort of compression and limiting being applied. So certain A$AP Rocky songs, the bass can tend to fall flat, dip down the mids and the vocals. So you'll get amplified bass, but then you'll hear how it's compressing and limiting as every time the bass hits and then drops off and the vocals come back in, and you can hear that obvious surge, decline. It's not much. It only happens with very select hip-hop songs. It seems like A$AP Rocky knows how to make really fat bass lines that tend to trip this up a little bit. But other than that, it holds its own with almost all other genres. It's very mild, so it's not too noticeable the moment you get back to whatever you're doing in the real world, but it's there. And that's something I feel as though should be mentioned for a lot of you at home. I know this can be fixed via firmware, and I hope that Creative allows us to have a mode where maybe through a gesture on the cup, which you use to change songs, pause, and turn up and down the volume, maybe we get a gesture that turns on and off, like limiting, turns off compression, and maybe some more audio tweaks can be done in the future. There have already been 2 firmware updates for it so far, so that's a good sign that Creative is taking it very seriously. But other than that, if you find that you listen more to pop, if you listen more to jazz, classical, or anything that may not just strictly be slamming bass, and even electronic songs sound fantastic on these. So the limiting is very interesting on when it chooses to do it, because even with techno and EDM, you don't tend to have it step in as much. It literally seems to be just very heavy and very fat bass lines in hip hop. That just seems to be the one area it does that. And aside from the reception issues, which I discussed, you can just run wired to get around any reception problems. I mean, all around, you have a headphone that was extremely well thought out. From the pads that can actually be replaced, all the way down to the cups which are labeled inside of them to make sure you always have them on the right way. From the little details such as the mics that are all around that basically help to capture the audio around you and help out with some way with audio processing. Not really sure there, because it doesn't seem to offer noise canceling. It's passive noise canceling. Other than that, it just really all around is a solid piece of kit. Now, some problems. Phone calls are not nearly as loud as I'd like them to be, and they tend to sound like the person is off and down to the left a little bit, which I think is just the way that they set up the processing. So I don't really use them for taking calls too much. It can be hard to hear people in louder environments when you're on a phone call, and that could be a deal breaker for a lot of you at home. So that's why I think it's worth mentioning. All around, I give this a solid 6.5 out of 10. The only reason I can't go any higher on the score is because the Bluetooth tending to drop out when it's in very heavy, dense areas kind of sort of defeats the point of needing a wireless headset, and having to run a wire in areas that most likely I don't want to be wired, that tends to be a problem. But this is a common problem with almost all Bluetooth headsets. Also, the fact that the audio mixing on the headphones with the SXFI mode, it's not quite as holographic and the marketing is misleading, I'm going to knock them a point there. Because in reality, they could have just said, bring the stereo to your head. They could have just simply said, we're recreating a multi-$1,000 stereo setup. They could have put that on the box, and people would understand the sound a lot better. This is why you put your phone in vibrate. Other than that, like I said, it has a bevy of features that allow you to still get around the limitations, as well as doing things that other headphones don't do, like having an SD card built right in. Very good move, Creative. But for the simple fact that you cannot switch off that audio compression when you're in Bluetooth mode, kind of kills it for the person who might be looking for this as a all-around top-level sounding headphone. But in my opinion, it is still the best headphone you can buy for under $200. But let's just be very frank here. If you're spending that kind of money, you're probably going to be looking to step up too. Needless to say, it is one of the only headphones on the market, aside from Neurophone, with some sort of sound processing built directly into it. And that to me makes it extremely, extremely important. Because it allows me as an audio masterer to hear headphones and hear my music in a way that somebody else might hear it that normally I can't. And to me, that is the most important thing. So ultimately, if you're looking to buy a pair of headphones, I seriously suggest try them out for 30 days. If you don't like it, send it back. My next video, I'm going to try this for headphones at least. I'm going to be trying to cover the Neurophones. I'm going to get my hands on those and see how these stack up to the Neurophone. After all, Neurophone does a similar thing to this with audio processing, but that one actually sort of does like an audio test on your ears. So I'm not quite sure how they're doing it. But certainly, it's a new world for personal audio because it looks as though we're finally getting the DSPs to step up to the level that we wanted all this time. Once again, my name is Casanova Nova, and I really hope you enjoyed this review. Please like and subscribe at the bottom. I know it's a bit pandering for us to always ask that, but the only way that we can afford to bring you these reviews and keep bringing content is if you engage back with us. And by liking and subscribing, you are telling YouTube that you would like to see more content. Other than that, I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope to see you again on the next video. Bye, everybody.